Hi everybody, it's Crystal. Welcome to my channel, Bagoday Crochet, where you will find anything and everything that has to do with yarn and crochet. So today I'm going to teach you a very simple stitch tutorial. This is just a one row repeat, and it's great for beginners, and it's also great for the advanced as well. It's very beautiful, and you can see it's a pretty solid stitch, so you could use this for just about anything that you wanted. It does look the same on both sides, which is always a plus. So, you know, wash rags, dish rags, blankets, throws, you know, any type of blanket, tops, hats, headbands, anything really this stitch would be good for. As you can see, it's pretty, like I said, solid. So why don't we go ahead and get started. What beats a one row repeat? Nothing. All right, so for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm using Ice Yarns Picasso. It's a medium weight number 4 acrylic polyester blend. One of their colors. They have a whole bunch of colors in that. And then also for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Now, depending on what you're making, this stitch is done in any number of chains. So there is no particular multiple that needs to be done. So whatever you chain, you can use. So whether it be a scarf or a big blanket, you chain for as long as you want it to be. And I do want to mention that you want to keep your beginning chain kind of loose, that way it doesn't curl up at the bottom. But yes, any number of chains will work. Alright, so once you get it the length that you want it to be, we'll go ahead and start row 1. Row 1, we are going to do a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. Now remember, we never count this one on our hook. So here's 1 and 2. I'm going to go in that second stitch and single crochet. And then I'm going to put 1 single crochet into every single stitch for the length of the chain. Remember to keep that beginning chain loose, if at all possible. So row 1 is just 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get to the end of your row. Alright, once you make it to the end of row 1, we're going to go ahead and start row 2. And row 2 is the repeat row for the whole pattern. Alright, we're going to start off with the chain 1. And we're going to turn our work. So that chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. It doesn't count as anything. So we're just going to pretend like it's not even there. We're going to go right into the very first stitch that we just, in the very first stitch of the row, and we're going to put a double crochet into it. Just like that. Now we're going to start the repeat. We're going to be doing a double crochet and a half double crochet together. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to yarn over, and we're going to go into the same stitch that we just double crocheted into, and we're going to draw up a loop, and we're going to yarn over and go through those first 2 loops on our hook, like that, and you'll have 2 loops on your hook. Now we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop. And you'll have 4 loops on your hook now. And we're going to yarn over and go through all 4. And that's the stitch that we're going to be doing. So that was a double crochet and a half double crochet together, which made 1 stitch. Now we're going to do that again. But you have to remember that we always start the stitch in the same stitch that we ended the last stitch in. So again, let's go ahead and yarn over and go into the same stitch that we just ended the last one in, and draw up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. Now we have 2 loops on our hook right now. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, and you'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 4 loops. Just like that. So you made another one. Let's go ahead and do it again. So we're going to yarn over and we go into the exact same stitch that we just ended in and draw up a loop and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over again and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 4. So this is the repeat until we get to the last stitch of our row. Let's go ahead and do it again. We're going to yarn over and go into the same stitch that we just ended in and draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop. You have 4 loops that remain, yarn over and go through all 4. Again, yarn over and go into the same stitch that we just ended in, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook, then yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop, yarn over and go through all 4 loops on your hook. So I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get to the last stitch of my row. Alright, I've made it to the end of row 2 and I just did my last double crochet, half double crochet together, and I have 1 stitch that remains. I want to do a double crochet into just a regular double crochet into the very last stitch, and that will end row 2, and that is the repeat row. So that is what it starts to look like. So why don't we go ahead and repeat it again. So we're gonna chain 1 and turn our work. We're gonna go right back to the very first stitch and double crochet. Now we're going to start our repeat by working our double crochet, half double crochets together. So we're going to start into the very first stitch that we just ended in. So we're going to yarn over and go into that first stitch again and draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over and go through all 4 loops. Again, we're going to yarn over and go into the same stitch that we just ended, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 4. So I'm just repeating what we did on the previous row. Yarn over and go to that same stitch that we just ended in and draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 4. So I'm going to repeat this pattern again, the same thing that we just did on row 2, until I get to the last stitch of my row. Alright, I've made it to the last stitch here, and in the very last stitch we're just going to go ahead and double crochet into that very last stitch. We're not going back into that same stitch, we're just going directly into the last stitch, double crocheting just like we did on the previous row. So that is it. You just keep repeating row 2 until you get to your desired width or length, depending on how long you made your chain. What I did though, once you get to your desired length or width, I chained 1 and turned, and I kind of just did a row of single crochet to finish it. Since we started with the row of crochet, I'm going to finish it with a row of single crochet. So I'm going across. This is when you get it as big as you want it to be, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch just to match the bottom. Now you don't have to do this if you like the way it looks without the single crochet, that's fine. I just thought it tied in better since we started with the row of single crochet to end it with the row of single crochet. If you're making a blanket with this, you could go all the way around with single crochet. That'd be a nice simple border for a simple stitch. Or of course you could put a more advanced border on it if you choose. So after a few repeats, it'll start to look like this. It's so pretty. I like it a lot. I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial. Remember, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and look in the description box for that link of all my hundreds and hundreds of other tutorials. Hopefully you find something there that you like and want to make. So I'll see you on my next video. Bye guys, take care.